Hello, friends. We are back for another week of 5 days of information from me, your host Dev Kumar Bala, with regard to various subjects and meant for all age groups so that you could imbibe something which may be of interest to you. The subject for today, the first of the week, is about the ultimate of perfection in Portuguese, a new word called Pele, the greatest footballer of all time, who was honored, or Portuguese language is honored, that his name meant perfection in every manner. When Pele died in the end of 2022 and his body was taken away on the early days of January 2023. Unfortunately and most poignantly, his mother, more than 100 years old, watched her son's body go without understanding what was happening, while whole of Santos, his dear place, was in shock and tears, as was the world. Pele was born in a poor family, and history has it that in 1950, when Brazil lost to Uruguay in the final of the World Cup in the Maracanã Stadium in Brazil, 172,000 Brazilians had thronged the stadium in the hope of seeing that Brazil beat Uruguay, their arch enemies. Unfortunately, it did not happen, and of the crowd, one person who was absolutely dead with grief came home and was in tears. A small 9-year-old son of his looked at him, wiped his father's tears, and prophetically told his father that, "Don't worry, I will win the World Cup for Brazil." Little did the father know and Dido realized that his son Pele was saying the truth, and not only that, he is the only player in the history of World Cup football to win the World Cup trophy thrice as a player. Pele was the ultimate of all football players, and in 1967, his fame was so great that he was instrumental for a civil war in Nigeria to be stopped for 2 days so that the people, the warring nations, could see him play. He also was a true ambassador of the game, and apart from his many duties in UNICEF, he also nurtured and promoted football in the United States of America, playing for the club Cosmos. After that, America did not look back, and their women's team and the men's team have earned laurels the world over. Pele was just 17 when he was selected for the national team in 1958. The sports psychologist Dr. Gosling had said that he was having the brains of an imbecile, and he should never be allowed into the football team. His coach, Di Bruno, told Dr. Gosling that it was he who was mentally retarded, and said that he would not enter the World Cup without Pele. Pele went on to play the 1958 World Cup, scored a half a dozen goals, made 3 or 4 more, and made the defenders feel mentally retarded, including a superlative goal in the final where he lobbed the ball right in front of the goal mouth and finished in classic style. And from that time, Brazil, who was just a non-entity in most of the cases, became the power to be which they became famous for. Their brand of football was completely unheard of. It was just free for all, each one of them masters of the trade. In 1962, he continued the good work, and in spite of him being injured, he came back and won them the World Cup in the 1962 final. Came the 1966 World Cup in England. Brazil was butchered out of the tournament by Portugal, and the referee did not even once ensure that justice was done to the players. Each of the Brazilian superstars were manhandled in a manner that was too painful to view. Pele swore in London that he would never play another World Cup. But true to the man and true to his sharpness and cleverness, he came back in 1972 at the age of 32. 1970 in Mexico. The Brazilians who were humiliated in 1966 brought about a team mixed with sheer skill and experience, and they overwhelmed everybody which came in front of him. They trained for 6 months in a place where nobody knew where they were, and each one of them trained as if they were novices in the game. That was the sheer weight of performance which they wanted to win it. And with each growing match, they overwhelmed their opponents till they came to the final where they played Italy and thrashed the masters of defense 4-1 in a final where Pele scored the first goal and made a couple of others. That was Pele himself, and the manner in which he was treated at the end of the match was exemplary. Of course, it is a tongue-in-cheek to know that the moment the 1970 World Cup ended, Pele was absolutely left only with his jocks. He never had his jersey, he never had his shorts, he never had his shoes, he never had his socks. Everything went for mementos or people who are hungry for it. And yet, from there on, he went forward in his stately manner to take care of world football, help the cause of poor people, and even gave the people of India in Calcutta in 1977 the chance to see him in real human form. I was one of those very lucky people to attend the press conference, and the manner in which he spoke in broken English left us all in raptures. On a day which was the Eden Gardens, then a cricket stadium, was absolutely like a muddy paddy field. Pele still came out because he knew that the 140,000 people would kill the organizations if it ever came. Stood where he did most of the time, and still made one goal for his compatriot Carlos Alberto, and showed what he was made of. With time passing, Pele, of course, had his share of controversies on health as well as other issues, which, of course, power and richness and fame bring about. But still, he managed to keep himself above the way people deal with it. And finally, when he left the world after a short but a bad illness, he was no doubt remembered as the greatest footballer, the one who was there for longevity, brilliance, and sustained excellence. We really need to take a book out of that. There are so many people who say that he's the GOAT, he's the GOAT, he's the GOAT. But this man is the GOAT to the power of infinity, the greatest of all time. Bye for now. Take care. We'll meet you tomorrow.